Welcome to HardScript.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't wait up, she texted at midnight. I didn't. And her keycard didn't work at 2 a.m. The sound of her failed attempt echoed through the apartment. A sharp, electronic denial that said everything I needed to know. I watched the green light on the hallway motion sensor flicker once, then die. She tried again. Still red. I'd already changed the system codes earlier that evening. My job made it easy. I managed network security for the same company she worked for. Madison, marketing manager. Always too busy for dinner lately. Always another meeting. We met at that same company 4 years ago. I was the quiet systems guy, the one who fixed the problems before anyone noticed them. She was the face of the department, sharp and confident, the kind who made PowerPoint sound like poetry. We'd built something that looked solid from the outside. But systems rot quietly, from the inside out. 3 months ago, her late night started. At first, I believed her. She'd send photos from conference rooms, half-empty coffee cups beside glowing screens. I'd bring her home Starbucks in the morning, trying to show support. She'd thank me without looking up from her iPhone, already lost in her world. Then one night, while doing a remote server backup, I noticed something odd. Access logs from her account pinged the director's office at 11:47 p.m. Not once, but 5 times that month. I knew because I'd set up the internal VPN myself. I didn't confront her. I just started watching. Quietly. She thought she was clever, separate chat threads, deleted messages, the occasional client dinner. But I know metadata doesn't lie. Her phone connected to the office Wi-Fi long after the building was empty. His car, a black Tesla, left the lot at the same time hers did. Every night, the same pattern. When she came home that night and found her keycard dead, she knocked once. Then again, harder. "Ethan, it's me." I didn't answer. I sat on the couch, lights off, listening to the hum of the fridge, the quiet breathing of the apartment I now considered mine alone. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Just precise. She'd made her choices, and I'd made mine. Outside, the city lights bled through the blinds. My laptop was open beside me, lines of code running like silent witnesses. In my inbox, a drafted resignation letter. Tomorrow, I'd submit it. But not before one last system check. One that would make sure her new mentor understood that some networks remember everything. My name's Ethan Cole, 34 years old, systems administrator at Aldridge and more consulting in downtown Seattle. I've spent the last 9 years making sure other people's data stayed private. Maybe that's why I noticed when mine stopped being respected. Madison worked 2 floors above me in marketing. She loved attention, the kind that came with expensive lunches, new clients, and now, apparently, closed-door meetings with her boss, Richard Aldridge himself. Married. 2 kids. The kind of man who believed charm could replace ethics. I wasn't supposed to see it. But one Friday evening, the internal server crashed, and I had to remote in. I saw her name pop up on the after-hours access log again, this time with his. The timestamp was 11:58 p.m. She'd told me she was staying late for a client deck revision. The file she was editing was named executive_presentation_final_final 2. But when I opened the metadata, the last editor wasn't her. It was Richard. I closed the file and leaned back, staring at the screen. There was no anger, just clarity. That weekend, she stayed out again. Said she was having drinks with the branding team. I stopped checking my phone. I'd already set up silent monitoring through the company system, legal, because I was IT. Every network login, every connection point. It wasn't obsession. It was evidence. By Sunday morning, I knew everything. Every time her badge entered the executive floor. Every night, she left through the side exit. Every morning she texted, "Don't wait up." I didn't tell her what I knew. Instead, I began making adjustments. Quiet ones. First, I moved my personal accounts out of our shared bank. She'd never notice. I also started forwarding my work documents to an encrypted drive. Not to use, just to keep. Systems people never burn evidence. We archive it. On Monday, Madison came home smiling, wearing a new dress I hadn't seen before, something that didn't look like it came from her usual Target runs. When I asked, she said it was a gift from the team. Her tone was light, rehearsed. I nodded, pretending to believe her. That night, while she slept, I logged into her company email. There it was, a dinner reservation confirmation from a downtown steakhouse, for two, under Richard's name. The timestamp matched one of her late meetings. I closed the laptop. My plan was already forming. Not revenge, precision. She'd made this about power. I was going to remind her who actually understood how systems worked. The following week at work felt like watching a movie I'd already seen. She moved through the office like a starlet, bright, composed, untouchable. Her voice carried down the hallways, her laugh echoing off the glass walls of the executive wing. From my seat in the network room, I could see her calendar. Private meetings, unscheduled sessions, all labeled strategy updates. Richard's name appeared beside every one. People noticed, of course. The whispers started. But nobody ever says anything outright about an office affair, not when the boss is involved. HR turns into theater, and everyone pretends they can't see what's right in front of them. I didn't play along. I just observed. Every digital trace left behind was another layer of quiet confirmation. Late-night logins, deleted files, unusual email forwarding. Each piece fit neatly into a pattern. On Thursday, Madison came to my desk. She brought coffee. Dunkin', my usual order. She smiled like nothing had changed. I thanked her, but my hand stayed still on the keyboard. She asked about my weekend plans. I said I hadn't decided. Her eyes lingered, searching for the old softness. It wasn't there anymore. She must have felt it because she left a moment later, her smile fading just a little. That night, I stayed late at the office. Alone, surrounded by the low hum of servers. I opened the access logs again, cross-referencing building entries, system activity, and timestamps. I didn't need more proof. What I wanted was understanding. I wanted to see when she crossed the line between ambition and betrayal. Somewhere between the promotions, the compliments, and the business trips, she'd traded integrity for influence. By midnight, I had the entire network mapped, every shadow of her digital trail. I encrypted the data and stored it on an external drive labeled Archive. Then I shut down my workstation and sat in silence for a while. When I got home, she was asleep, phone face down on the nightstand. Her breathing was steady, peaceful. I stared at her for a long moment, remembering the woman who used to bring me lunch during outages, who once waited in my car for hours during overnight maintenance just to keep me company. That version of her was gone now, replaced by someone who thought she could rewrite the system and erase the logs. She didn't know I'd already written a backup. The next Monday started like any other, except nothing was normal anymore. Madison left early, saying she had a team breakfast. I knew it was another private meeting. Her perfume lingered in the hallway after she closed the door, the kind of expensive scent she never wore when we met. She'd started dressing differently too, sharper, louder, like every piece of her was performing for an audience I couldn't see. At the office, the network team was busy preparing for an upcoming audit. My department handled all internal permissions, so I had access to everything. Email servers, employee calendars, internal chat archives. It was part of my job to ensure compliance, but that morning, I opened a folder I'd never thought I'd look into. Executive correspondence. I typed her name in the search bar. Dozens of results appeared. Some routine, some not. Attached PDFs, file transfers. Late-night drafts between her and Richard, timestamped well past midnight. One stood out, a document marked Marketing Growth Initiative, Private Draft. It wasn't private because of the content. It was private because of the tone. Personal messages embedded between lines of corporate strategy. The kind of language that doesn't belong in a workplace file. I didn't print it. I didn't copy it. I just memorized the timestamp. Then I deleted my search history and closed the folder. Quiet actions, no trace. That afternoon, I noticed her laughing by the coffee machine with Richard. He touched her elbow briefly, casually, like a man who'd forgotten he wasn't supposed to. She didn't pull away. She leaned in. For a moment, I thought about walking over, saying something, anything, but that wasn't part of the plan. The power in silence lasts longer than any confrontation. That night, she came home late again. Said the meeting ran long. I nodded, pretending not to care. But after she went to bed, I opened my laptop and began rewriting a few small pieces of code in the company's keycard system. Nothing dramatic, just a silent edit that would reset a single access permission 2 weeks later. Her badge. She'd think it was a technical glitch. The same system I'd built to keep things secure would now keep me secure from her. I wasn't angry. I was preparing. Systems fail when they're emotional. I was just writing clean code. 2 weeks later, the keycard update went live quietly, buried among hundreds of other system changes. It was invisible to anyone except me. Madison didn't notice, of course. She'd been too busy playing her new role, always with that polished smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. She'd started parking closer to Richard's spot, walking in just after him. It didn't matter. I'd already stopped watching her. I was watching the system instead. At work, rumors started spreading, subtle ones. People said the director was mentoring a select few, helping shape the next generation of leadership. Her name came up every time. Some called it ambition. Others called it predictable. I didn't join the conversation. I stayed where I belonged, behind screens, where truth leaves footprints no one else can see. That Friday, while performing a standard security review, I noticed a new user group. Marketing confidential. Access limited to 2 people, Richard and Madison. Created on her login. I opened the activity log. There it was, a series of large file uploads. Presentations, budget drafts, performance reports, all routed through her personal email before being deleted. I backed up everything automatically. That was protocol. My silent insurance. Later that evening, she texted that she'd be home late again. Finalizing next quarter's proposal, she wrote. I didn't reply. I poured myself a drink, sat on the balcony, and watched the city fade into the kind of darkness that only comes when you've stopped pretending things will get better. Around midnight, her phone buzzed on the counter. A notification preview lit up the screen, Richard's name. I didn't need to read the rest. I already knew the language, the tone, the pattern. I let the screen go dark again. The following morning, I logged into the company system one last time and downloaded a report. Access attempts, data movement, internal communications, all tied neatly together. The proof was undeniable, time-stamped and archived under company compliance logs. If anyone ever investigated, they'd find everything without my help. By Monday, she'd noticed something different. Her badge wouldn't work after midnight. A minor inconvenience, she'd assume. But to me, it was closure. I didn't need confrontation. I didn't need revenge. What I needed was distance and silence. Sometimes the cleanest exit is one no one even notices until the system locks them out. Monday morning arrived quiet, deceptively ordinary. Madison left early again, saying she had to present the quarter review. I just nodded, sipping my coffee from a mug she'd bought at Starbucks last year, the one with little cracks along the handle. It used to mean something sentimental. Now it was just porcelain, holding caffeine and silence. At work, the air buzzed with end-of-quarter tension. Executives rushing between meetings, department heads sending frantic emails. I kept my routine steady. No eye contact, no unnecessary words. In the server logs, I saw the pattern unfold like choreography. Madison and Richard's logins syncing again, late the previous night. The card access confirmed it. She'd left the building at 2 in the morning. Her strategy update was just another midnight performance. Around noon, Richard sent an email to IT. Urgent. Access issue with restricted files. It landed in my queue. I knew exactly what it was. Madison's keycard reset had just taken effect. A technical issue. I wrote back in 3 words, resolved by system. No explanation. No hint that I'd written the line of code myself. By evening, Madison texted that she'd be home late again. Big pitch, she said. I didn't answer. Instead, I packed up my desk, not because I was leaving, but because I was cleaning the slate. I deleted old personal files, archived key documents, and changed my phone number quietly through the company portal. A silent firewall between us. When I got home, the apartment was still dark. I took the time to move a few boxes, small things she'd never notice missing right away. My old camera, a few shirts, the external hard drives. I drove them across town to a short-term rental I'd found on Facebook Marketplace under a different name. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. Don't wait up, she texted. I didn't. At 2:07 a.m., my security alert pinged. Her keycard access denied. 3 attempts, same result. She must have thought it was a glitch, then realized she was locked out by the very system she'd mocked me for caring too much about. I watched the log from my laptop at the rental, the little red, access denied, line glowing on the screen. Then silence. That was the last time she tried to enter under her name. The next morning, she walked into the office like nothing happened. But from that point on, she was locked out of more than just a door. She just didn't know it yet. The next day, the company felt colder. It wasn't the temperature, it was the shift in atmosphere, subtle but sharp. People whispered near the elevators. I knew why. Madison's midnight access attempt had triggered a silent alert to corporate security. Standard protocol. The system didn't flag her by name, just logged in unauthorized after-hours entry. It would be reviewed automatically in the weekly audit. I didn't need to lift a finger. By noon, she came storming into the IT department, frustration thinly disguised behind a brittle smile. She asked to speak with me privately. I nodded, motioned toward a small server room. The hum of machines drowned her voice, but her expression said enough, panic wrapped in arrogance. She claimed there'd been a system glitch. I listened, calm and unreadable. She needed me to fix it quietly, before anyone noticed. I told her I'd look into it. She thanked me, relief flickering behind her eyes. As soon as she left, I filed a brief internal note. Potential breach under executive review. Nothing inflammatory, just a breadcrumb in the right direction. That's how you move quietly in corporate ecosystems, one line at a time. That evening, Richard called an impromptu meeting with IT. I attended, sitting at the far end of the conference table. He talked about data integrity and trust, avoiding eye contact with me. His tone was rehearsed, calm, but his hand kept brushing his tie, a nervous tick. Madison sat beside him, her smile tight as wire. They looked like co-defendants pretending to be colleagues. After the meeting, I received a short email from compliance. Mr. Cole, please confirm your role in recent access control updates. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. I knew what that meant. The investigation had already begun, and I'd made sure every log, every timestamp, every action I'd taken was clean, justified, and fully documented. Madison's digital fingerprints, on the other hand, were everywhere they shouldn't be. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at the rental, sipping black coffee, watching rain streak across the window. The city below pulsed with late-night noise, unaware of the quiet dismantling happening above it. Madison had played her game for power, but she'd chosen a battlefield I built myself. By morning, she'd learned the rule I lived by. Systems don't betray people. People betray themselves. At 9 a.m. sharp, I sat across from the compliance officer, a man named Turner. Neat suit, tired eyes, coffee breath. He greeted me politely and got straight to the point. There had been a flagged access attempt on the executive floor at 2 in the morning, traced to Madison's credentials. He wanted to understand if I had made any recent system changes that could explain it. I told him the truth. I'd updated the security configurations 2 weeks ago, routine maintenance, approved by the director of IT. Access renewals were automated based on department schedules. Any denials after hours, I said, were not overrides, but standard protocol. Turner nodded, taking notes. I could tell he already knew Madison's version of the story. He just needed to see which one made more sense. He asked if there was any reason Madison would have executive access at that time. I met his eyes and said calmly, not from my department's records. That was all. By lunchtime, the tone in the office shifted. Word traveled fast in quiet spaces. Madison kept to her desk, pretending to work, fingers frozen above her keyboard for long stretches. Richard's office blinds stayed closed all afternoon. You could feel the tension leaking through the glass walls. That evening, I packed up my things slowly. I knew the audit report would land on HR's desk by morning. And I knew what came after that. Meetings, questions, internal reviews. I didn't need to stay for the fallout. My part was done. At home, the apartment looked staged, like a life already archived. Her clothes still hung in the closet, untouched for days. On the counter sat a half-empty Target candle she used to light when she worked late. I watched the small pool of wax harden under the kitchen light. My phone buzzed around 9. It was her, one line, they're asking questions. Did you say something? I didn't reply. I powered the phone off, set it beside the candle, and sat down with my laptop. I opened my resignation letter, reread it once, and sent it to HR with a scheduled timestamp for tomorrow morning. Then I shut the lid. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. Inside, the quiet felt earned. She tried to climb through power. I'd chosen precision. And by morning, we'd both understand the cost of mistaking silence for weakness. By the time the sun rose, my resignation email had already landed in HR's inbox. I didn't wait for a response. I drove to the office, parked across the street, and watched from the lot. People were filtering in, unaware they were stepping into a storm. At 9:30, a black Chevy Suburban pulled up. Corporate security. 2 men in suits went straight to the executive floor. 10 minutes later, Madison appeared behind the glass walls of the lobby, walking fast, her heels clattering like panic. She looked smaller than I remembered. I watched her argue with one of the security officers, waving her badge as if authority could rewrite access logs. It couldn't. Richard followed soon after, his perfect composure cracking for the first time. They disappeared into the elevator. The building swallowed them. Inside that office, I knew exactly what was happening. Compliance would have run the log audit by now, showing multiple late-night entries tied to her ID, cross-linked with flagged email attachments, and unusual file transfers from his account. The algorithm wouldn't label it affair, but it didn't need to. Patterns tell their own stories. Around noon, a notification pinged my inbox. Final confirmation of resignation processed. Effective immediately. I was out. Clean. Detached. I turned off my work phone and left it on the passenger seat of my car. The new one, unlisted and quiet, buzzed once with a message from an unknown number. "You planned this," it read. No name, but I didn't need one. I stared at the words for a long time before deleting them. She wasn't wrong. I hadn't planned the betrayal, but I had planned my exit. That's what separates chaos from control, the ability to walk away before everything collapses. That evening, I stopped at Waffle House on the edge of town, ordered black coffee and eggs. The waitress called me Han without looking up. It felt grounding, ordinary. Across the counter, a muted TV showed a news ticker about corporate restructuring at Aldridge and Moore. I almost smiled. As I drove back to the rental, rain started again, steady, cleansing. I didn't feel victorious, just quiet. Some systems correct themselves. Others need a hard reset. Madison's world was rebooting without me in it. 2 weeks passed before I heard anything. The company had moved fast. Madison was reassigned pending investigation. Richard had taken an indefinite leave of absence. Officially, it was for personal reasons. Unofficially, everyone knew. Affairs rarely stay quiet when they're mixed with corporate data breaches. I'd rented a small place in the north end of town, near the lake. 1 bedroom, minimal furniture, a view of nothing in particular. It was perfect. I woke up early, brewed coffee, and ran diagnostics on freelance systems for clients who didn't know my name, just my work. Freedom and anonymity. Sometimes I thought about her. Not with anger, not even regret. More like curiosity. I wondered if she ever realized how long I'd known. How many nights I'd watched her walk into the same trap, one she thought she'd built for someone else. One evening, as the sun dropped behind the water, I got a message from a former colleague. "They're cleaning house," it said. Compliance found more than just access violations. Finance issues. Contract manipulation. The director's out too. I stared at the screen, then typed back a single word, expected. There was no satisfaction in it, just the calm that comes when cause finally meets consequence. The system had done its job. I just helped it see clearly. Later that night, I drove past the old apartment. Her car was gone. The blinds were open, and through the window, I saw moving boxes stacked against the wall. The Target candle still sat on the counter, half-burned and forgotten. I didn't stop. Back home, I opened my laptop and deleted the last archive file tied to her name. No backups. No proof. Just closure. They say silence is emptiness. They're wrong. Silence is structure. It's the space where you rebuild. Before bed, I looked out at the water again. The reflection of streetlights rippled across the surface, breaking into fragments, reforming themselves, endlessly adapting. That's how I felt now. Changed shape, but intact. Madison had chased recognition from the top. I'd built it quietly, from within. And when everything collapsed, I didn't have to say a word. Because the truth, when left alone long enough, speaks louder than anything you could ever shout. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.